Welcome back to Impact Podcast. My name is Jeremy Melton. I'm your host, along with Daniel and Maddie. And our highlight question that we try to answer is, what kind of impact are you making on the world that we live in? This is episode number 13, 1-3. And the mandate to cover today is passion. I'm excited about this one. So we're going to get rolling. But before we do, what about Nathan Park? Let's talk about his episode really quick.
Well, I'll just say that it was so nice to have Mr. Nathan in the studio, and he's my neighbor. He's lived across the street from me for about 2 years, but I felt like I got to know him so much better having him here, talking about his family, and just got to, driveway conversations one thing, but what we talked about was real, and just love him to death. And let's go, Nate.
It was good. I actually called him this week, and I just to encourage him. He's running on the campaign trail for commissioner, and I said, "Dude, I just want you to know I really enjoyed the interview talking about your family. It was good, so it was encouraging." Maddie, did you get to listen in to that?
I have not. No, I'm excited to listen though.
Okay, so one thing that stuck out to me was Nathan was a family man, of course. But one of the biggest takeaway for me was when he was talking about people that had impacted his life, kind of like everybody else that we interview does. And he said that his dad had a big impact on his life. And when I was asking him about it, he said that his dad nailed it. Like, being a dad. And I was like, bruh, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that about their dad. So anyway, we kind of uncovered that, but it was super good. And I was encouraged to spend time with my kids, so Nathan nailed it, in my opinion. So just like his dad.
It was great. Let's circle back. What did he say when you asked the question what his leadership style was? And he said he was adaptable.
Adaptable.
And
That's a good one.
Yeah, that stuck with me. And actually listening back, we had someone else mention adaptability, not like as their key style, but when we asked that question, they said adaptability is important. And I think that
was Nick.
Nick, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Nick.
So adaptability, that is something that I feel like we haven't used a whole lot, but
that kind of
great
goes.
Word.
It kind of goes along with leadership is living.
Yeah, exactly. It does. And that was Maddie's word of
Maddie quote.
Yeah, Maddie quote. That was good. Excellent. All right. Well, cool. Good luck, Nate. Thanks for joining us. It was good.
Bring it home.
Can't wait to get that koozie with your name on the side of it. Vote for Nathan.
There you go.
That'll be good.
Koozies are coming. All right. So this week, this week's our teaching week. We're not interviewing. We're going to be learning about the mandate of passion. And so you might say, well, why is that a mandate? And maybe that's silly, right? You might think that. Well, today I intend to prove otherwise. It's a very important attribute of leadership, and so I consider it a mandate. But it really, in my opinion, it takes a good leader and makes them a great leader, right? So you can have a good leader that's not all that passionate, and maybe they just go through and do their job, or they just lead people, and it's good. But when you have a leader that exhibits passion, it tends to separate them from the bunch, okay? And so it's kind of like, if there's any fishermen out there, it's the kicker fish to win the tournament, right? It's the one thing that creates momentum behind what the leader's doing. Mm-hmm. And if there's no passion, then the momentum is less. And so passion is a huge deal. So we'll start by defining passion like we always do. What is passion?
Daniel?
Passion. To me, passion is simple. It's enthusiasm, and it's energy, and it's just kind of being that ball of energy in the room and just saying like, hey, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it, and saying it in a way that inspires other people to see what you see.
It's good.
Enthusiasm. That word sticks out to me when I think about passion.
Yeah. So if you Google it, it's strong and or barely controllable emotion. Now, barely controllable emotion, you might think, well, you need to be in control as a leader, right? But when you think about uncontrollable emotion, that's strong emotion, right? That's what a passionate leader is. They're very strong. And, this is one of those things that, again, people, used in the wrong way, it can be a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the attributes are that way, where they're really good when they're controlled, and then they're not good when they're not controlled. So we're fixing to have to silence phones, but it's probably mine. But when you talk about passion, you can be too passionate, in my opinion, about the wrong things or about the right things. And so it's one of those things you have to be intentional about measuring consistently.
Well, and the uncontrollable emotion to me is kind of like, it's not even about control. It's more about you just got it. It's not like you're not trying. You just have you have passion. You don't learn to have it. You can't be passionate about something that you don't care about.
Right.
Or, so it's kind of like you can't control how you feel about it.
Yeah. So the easiest way to describe it, in my opinion, we're going to go through a deep dive here in a minute, but when you look at a passionate person, it creates the ability for you to influence in a bigger way. Okay. And so if you're a dud, if you're just kind of there, then your ability to influence is less. And so that's because of human nature. But being passionate is where a leader demonstrates strong enthusiasm, like y'all talked about, a deep commitment to a vision, and actively inspires and motivates the team. Okay, so this is where the motivation comes from, the momentum to follow. And so especially when you're building a business, you want a passionate leader, right? If you don't have a passionate leader, the momentum is way less. So if you're in growth mode, you want to hire someone that's passionate about what they do.
That's right.
So if you're interviewing people, you're bringing people in and you're interviewing them, and they just kind of going through the motions, that's not passionate. You're not going to grow like you will if you hire a passionate leader. Mm-hmm. And so it's a huge deal depending on where you are and what season of life and what you're hiring for and what your goals are. Sometimes you may not want a super passionate, aggressive leader because you're in a different time and you're not ready for that. So, anyway, leading with passion, basically, and this is where we talk about presence too, because we talked about the presence of a leader or the absence of a leader, and that quality directly determines the organization's health. Okay, and so the only time that you can exhibit passion is when you're present, right? Because if you're not present, you can call somebody on the phone and root them on, but it's just words, right? So your influence is going to be way less. So anyway, most of history's most influential leaders have been passionate. And so I want to ask y'all if you can think of anybody that you would say was a passionate leader. Just think about it for a minute. People that lead with passion. Now, again, we talk about it being intense enthusiasm that fuels vision and innovation. Okay? So a leader that genuinely believes in the cause or the vision and then creates enthusiasm, inspiration, and motivation to those around them. That's who we're talking about. And so I would just ask, do you know of any that you can think of? I have two examples. But
I'm trying to get outside the box. It's easy to look at who's in front of everybody right now, and Elon and Donald Trump. They're very passionate. They're not doing it for anything except for raw passion. And so those are obviously The first examples that come to mind.
Elon Musk is definitely a passionate leader.
That's who I was trying to do the same thing and pick someone that is a little different than what we've said before.
Well, so Elon Musk is absolutely an all-star, passionate leader. Donald Trump is as well. You could go back and say, I mean, one of the guys I was studying one time, like Mahatma Gandhi. Look, Martin Luther King Jr., right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the ones that were just led with exuded greatness,
Mm-hmm.
that led lots of people, typically, they are passionate leaders. And when you think about passion, you might think, well, they're not, the intense cheering on people. Not that. That's not passion. We're talking about people that live and die by what they're doing, And so we talk about Elon, but I mean, he's a passionate leader because just look at that dude. Like, he's a worker, and he's got his goals and he's dead set to get them. Trump.
I jump back to the football coaches that we've mentioned before, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. Obviously, they're very passionate. But
That's good.
That's a good one.
You just said, like, is that life or it is for them? It's life or death for them.
Yeah, hey, it is. Well, they won't coach there long if they don't just winning.
But
Kirby Smart's a good one. He is fired. That dude's fired up.
That's passion.
Yeah. No, I agree.
He gives me passion. I'm like, go dogs.
Yeah.
But I think in my real world life, I mentioned this in one of the episodes of who the hungriest person was, and I said my friend Marie. And the first thing I think of someone in my life that is a leader is her and her husband, who co-direct the festival that I'm working with. She lives, breathes, like exudes everything for this festival, and it's a fundraiser. It's not a music festival or something. It's it raises money for a local school and other education things. So, and that's all she talks about. She's always there. She's the first person that has new ideas. So she's very passionate.
That's good. Daniel?
I guess I'm going to kick it back to myself when I think about like being passionate about something that I'm doing. It really, like a lot of times I'll lose some of the wind out of my sail if it's not something that I can get inspired about, working in creative and I've got accounts that are regular and we go through the motions, and then we've got accounts that they have a dream and a goal, and I'm like, I get behind that. And their passion drives my passion, and then it's like a whole nother level. The creative gets better.
I got you.
And
what about you?
I think look, I'll be honest with y'all. I think y'all are passionate leaders. And I'm not just saying that, but both of y'all have encouraged me. In, even just this podcast, you've gotten behind it and you're both passionate about it at some level on different terms or different ways. But you both encouraged me by what you do. And so I would say y'all. And then I would say,
thank you.
Yes. I have been known to be passionate as well. I don't want to talk about me, but I have been told that I'm very passionate. In fact, one time...
Well, you've talked about your strong emotions.
Yeah.
They're strong.
They are strong. In fact, that's hurt me in my career. At some point, at some level it has. And we won't dive into that right now. But it's also helped me in my career. So like I told you earlier, it's both, right? So if you manage it, it can be helpful. If you don't manage it, it can be harmful. But I was told, I was recruited and took a job one time, and I was in the email that went out said that my passion was part of the reason I got the job, right? For what I do. And that's strong. And I've also been told that I'm too passionate. Your passion's too strong. It can be an enemy if I don't manage it. And so anyway.
That's interesting.
It is. But it's also, like I said, it's better than it is worse, if that makes any sense. So it is. So that's the other thing I was going to say. It is vital to some things, and we'll talk some about that. Anytime there's going to be long-term success from a leader, he is passionate, or he or she. It creates engaging work environment, right? That's the number one thing that it does. It becomes engaging. And so if you're not passionate, it's not very engaging. Employees oftentimes feel more valued around a passionate leader.
Yep.
And they stay motivated and connected to the mission. So, and that's the leader's responsibility, and based on the leader and what he's responsible for, directly dictates whether or not he has to be passionate in his position. So, we'll get into some of that too. So, passionate leaders are driven. We talked about what drives you, and so this is where you have to figure that out. And so, some people are driven by a sense of purpose, and some people are not. Most people are. So you have to have a sense of purpose, all right? And we talk about that all the time. I get into conversations with people about being retired. They say, man, I'm going to get retired. And I know we're chasing rabbits here, but it's a podcast, so we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they say, I'm going to retire in 5 years. And I said, what are you going to do when you retire? Well, I'm just going to retire. I don't know. I said, well, you need to keep working. You have to have a sense of purpose. And so that's just in your nature. That's not something you can dodge. And so a passionate person, is driven by that most of the time, their sense of purpose. And so passionate people are not afraid to take risks, right? So if you're going to be a passionate leader, you need to be willing to take a risk and then celebrate if you win or lose after taking that risk. Mm-hmm. Obviously, one of the big ones too is challenging the status quo. So a lot of times leaders, they can be leaders inside the organization, and this is just the way we've always done it. A lot of times a passionate leader wants to do it different. They change it just to change it because they want to be in that zone, right? And so that's oftentimes why a passionate leader is not welcomed by lots of folks on the beginning, because they're changing stuff. It's like, what are you doing? This has been working fine for 10 years. Well, no, not now. It's not, because I'm here and I want to see it different, right? We got to change it. That's what I get in trouble for.
That's right.
Well, it's funny that, changing the status quo, because one of the things I think about one of my first jobs right out of college was for a nonprofit, and it was the same thing every single year. We never upgraded events. We did the same thing every single year. And it was like, but what if we did something like this? And it was a younger me coming in and trying to not change anything terrible. I mean, it was just kind of, I was thinking to attract younger people, different type of vision. And no, we've always done it this way.
Wow.
That's always, that was the answer that I always got. And I was like, stayed there for 2 years.
That is death by words. Yeah. I mean, that kills me, because people don't realize that people don't want change, but they do want change.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and with that, it's like they were too passionate about what it's always been. Yeah. So it's like, well, we can't change it. We've always done it this way, you
gotta change it.
It would be like a death sentence if they changed up an event or something, know? So it's not, that's a good example of like too much passion for something.
Change is so important. But people don't like it. But it is so critical to your growth as a person. Change is good, and it creates growth, and it keeps you from just hanging in there. And too much unchanging can create depression. Look, there's we'll chase all kind of rabbits.
Yeah.
Here, but all right. So how do you channel passion and presence? Let's channel it. So I'm going to give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ways that you can channel it, and then we're going to get 10 ways to become a more passionate leader. We're just going to buzz through these.
Okay.
How are we doing on time? Okay, so we're good. We got about 10 minutes on each. Okay. All right, so we're going to channel passion and presence for effective leadership. Okay. Number 1 is going to be authenticity. So, number 1, authenticity. What does that mean? I mean, it's got to be
real.
It's got to be real.
Yep.
You know, it's got to be genuine.
Believable.
Yeah, it's got to be real. So pretending to care about something never works, right? And so it just doesn't resonate with people. And so you want to be authentic. That's the first thing for passion and presence is being authentic. Number 2, here's a big one for the drum roll: continuous learning. Right? Constantly learning. We talk about that. You got to be a student of leadership. Passion often stems from a deep understanding of a subject. The best leaders continuously seek knowledge and experience that enrich their perspective. Okay. Number 3, open communication. So you're going to communicate your vision and enthusiasm effectively. Okay. And, you know, again, active listening, seek feedback, and remain open. We talk about some of that stuff, how important it is to just communicate. Empowerment. And all these things, man, they echo through all these. But empowering your team members to take ownership, it fosters growth. Number 5, lead by example. So the things that you're passionate about, you have to embody. So if you're passionate about whatever it can be, you know, you have to do that too. You have to lead by example. You can't, you know, do as I say, not do as I do, right? It's the other way around. So
I just got that. I was like, what?
All right, number 6 was emotional intelligence. So again, understand and manage emotions. Manage emotion, right? That's important. And then you can build passion. And number 7 is build relationships. So a lot of passion is driven in relationships. It's not really easy to drive passion without other people. So you have to build the passion with others, and the leader provides vision for the other people to kind of create that momentum with the others. And so you have to do it in relationship. So there you go. That, I mean, and which one of those sticks out to you most? Of course, we're really about to get to where we're actually going to get fundamental here in a minute. Like, what do you got to do?
Well, so I wrote down, so lead by example, when we had, I think it was Nick, and he talked about how he had a work truck and he was listening to 104.7 The Fish, and his guy had to go move his truck or something, and when he turned it on, that radio station was on, and the guy was like,
that.
I don't know why I remember that.
I
but
love it.
I like stories.
That's good.
And he said the thing, you know, the guy was like, I never would have thought that you were that type of person, or, you know, whatever he said. And that's when his turning point was like, wait a second, I'm not acting, you know, I'm one person here, but not all the time. So I liked that.
Nice, good story. Thank you for sure. I didn't remember that, but I do now. Now that you bring it back up,
And now it'll stay.
now it'll stay. We'll hear it twice.
So I got Jeremy. So we're sitting here talking about passion, and then, like, you know, build momentum, and enthusiasm is contagious. But, like, is passion something that you can just, like, decide or choose to have, or is it something that's just built inside some people? And
Good question.
That is a really good question, Daniel. In other words, what you're saying is, can you train it? Can you teach it? Like, which, I mean, we're teaching it now, but can you actually plant it in someone? I don't know. That's a good question.
I think a good leader who's passionate can teach someone passion about whatever it might be. So, like, if you get hired at a company and the leader is very passionate about, you know, the vision and the mission and things like that, that can give you passion.
it can create passion in others.
Right.
But, you know, and I'm just like, we all have passions about our own things, and different things make us passionate about. But, like, I can't convince someone to be passionate.
You have to influence them.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting question, Daniel. So I would say, wow, that's good. So again, So could you put it in someone? I don't think so. But like Maddie said, another leader could influence them to be more passionate.
Mm-hmm.
But having the desire to be passionate, is that enough? That's kind of your question. Like,
Yeah.
you want to be passionate, but can you, in and of your own?
Just decide to do it.
I think you could.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because if you decide to do something and you commit to it, oftentimes you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so makes me think of I follow a preacher named David Wilkerson, and he's passed away now, but he's a great guy. Listen to a lot of his messages, but he taught a series on being a man of another sort, and he maybe we can listen to it one day on here, but it's like a 4 or 5 minute thing, and he says that there was people in the Old Testament, the men in the Old Testament, that wanted to become a man of another sort, and what he says is that the Bible says they set their heart. Okay, so they set their heart to be a different kind of man. And so he says, he believes, and he preached that you can set your heart to something and you can do that. And so I have to say, based on that yes, you could set your heart to become a better leader and exhibit passion, and you could study it, and you could, learn it, and then you could implement it, and you could do all the things that we talk about on the show, and you could improve it for sure. So it's a great question. Yeah. Certainly something to think about, but I think you could. Yeah. And we're about to go over 10 ways to become a more passionate leader.
Here we go.
So you can make your list.
These are things we can do.
These are things that you can do. And before I do that, these are going to be 10 ways to become a more passionate leader. But if you're thinking to yourself right now, well, I'm not a leader and I'm not that passionate. Or you could say, well, I am a leader, but I'm not that passionate. We all know that we're leaders, but I'm not that passionate. I need to do these things. Yes, or you need to find someone to do these with you, right? So, look, maybe you have a boss at work or a manager or a mentor that you could give this list to and say, hey, help me with some of this stuff, And so that's good. So number 1, 10 ways to become a more passionate leader. Number 1 is to share your vision.
Keep going.
Share your vision. And that is, speaking about something that you care deeply about, that inspire others and embrace your vision and enthusiasm. Passion and leadership involves more than just words like we talk about. So the number 1 is share your vision. That's the most important, I think. Number 2 is engage with everyone. Increase your engagement with everybody around you. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you show up regularly and engage with your organization. It's funny, you can be sitting in the office working. If somebody out there that's listening, or you guys might be sitting in the office working, and maybe the boss walks in and they don't engage with anybody. They just go to their desk, right? They don't say anything to anybody. Later on, people come around and say, what's that dude's problem?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As a leader, man, it's your responsibility to stop and speak to all your people.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time.
Yes, sir.
You have to. It's part of your duty. You're obligated to it, okay? And so passionate leadership doesn't get mixed up hiding behind closed doors, if that makes any sense. So engage with everybody around you. Number 3 is empower your teams. We talked about that just a few minutes ago, but passionate leaders generate productivity by instilling trust and a shared vision. Don't bottleneck progress by limiting all of the decision-making to yourself. Mm-hmm. You got to embrace everybody else's opinion. Mm-hmm. And so that builds passion as well. Number 4 is to focus on solutions, not problems. I worked for a guy one time. His name was Danny Mann. If he ever listens to this show, he can get plugged here. But I used to be the kind of guy that would go to the foreman or the boss and say, hey, I got a problem over here. And I want you to know that I'm solving it. You know? So I'd go to him with a problem with no solution. And then I would just wanted him to know there was a problem. And I did that because I needed it inside. And, I had to learn that was not the right way to do it. Because nobody wants to know about your problems. So what I figured out was, hey, if I give him the solution, that was the way he led me to figure that out was I would go to him and I'd say, hey, man, what about no problems, only solutions? That's what he would say. No problems, only solutions. And so I learned from that. I started doing that to people that I worked with.
Yeah.
No problems, only solutions. Number 5 is to remain positive. This is hard. I don't know what y'all think, but it's not always easy to be positive. So passion and negativity don't go in the same bucket. They just won't. Negativity is a tremendous killer to progress in all kinds of ways, specifically leadership. Number 6 is to be disruptive. This is my favorite one. Passionate leaders anticipate and drive change that requires being disruptive.
Yeah.
We talked about change a while ago and how important it is. And so most of the time people don't want that. It disrupts everything. Everything's moving. And
that's just like what Maddie was saying.
Exactly. They don't like, people are like, no, stop. Like, but reality is that when all that stuff is changing and everything's moving, everybody's growing. And if you just stop, like, okay, stop, take a breath. But guess what? Keep rolling, So being disruptive creates improvement all along the way. Number 7, and this is a big one. We've talked about it a bunch. Being transparent and humble. Sharing who you are and what your passions are with others in the organization encourages others to do the same. If you're willing to talk about your problems or things that, things that are good or bad about yourself, a lot of times other people will be willing to do it as well. Mm-hmm. If you keep all that guarded, then they're going to stay guarded. So being transparent and humble. I'm blowing through these. Y'all slow me down if I need to. Number 8, this is a big one too. Man, these are all good. Maintain self-awareness. Self-awareness is critical for a passionate leader. And because there's a reason for that. Actions and decisions that you're making as a leader are impacting others and other leaders. Being self-aware of that is important because sometimes you can negatively impact somebody, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're not aware and critical, like if you're not being intentional about your awareness, you can be negatively impacting other people and other leaders. And so you have to maintain self-awareness to be passionate. It's, everything that you do, look, leadership is oftentimes looking in the mirror constantly. Mm-hmm. Number 9 is be always learning, which we kind of talked about earlier. But learning is a way to stoke the fire of passion. So when somebody might be saying to me, hey, Jeremy, my passion is waning, or I just don't feel like I'm there, then it's time to go learn, right? Which is what we're doing. Because when you're learning, it generates passion inside of you. And so you can read books, listen to podcasts, engage with others, just chit and chat, whatever. But you can go learn. That helps. And number 10 is avoid burnout. So burnout is the opposite of passion. Okay? And so it can happen. You can be burned out because of disappointment or working long hours, and so you have to recharge. And I had a guy mentor of mine, he told me, he said, dude, you need to disconnect and recharge. Mm-hmm. And I don't need to do that, but you do need to do that. Despite what you think you do, you do need to do that. And so that's 10. I don't really know which one of those is my favorite. I couldn't figure it out, but
there's some good ones in there. The fundamentals really, all right. So if someone asks me, Daniel, what's your leadership style? I might say passionate. After that's the enthusiasm, like you were saying about the engaging with everyone, high energy. Like those are things that I naturally do. But also with those 10 fundamentals, I feel like there's also pieces in there that I could fill in some holes.
Oh, yeah. Dude, you take that list and you can I want to learn this week. Next week I want to maintain self-awareness. And you focus on these things. And then until it becomes a habit. Look, like we talk about, leadership is learned. You're not just born with it. Some people think you are. And you questioned earlier, would you be born with passion? Some people are, maybe. But I think that it's learned. I think all of it's learned. And I think that you can learn, the more you learn about the subject, the more you learn and study these traits, and you look in the mirror and you continue to evolve, you can be a completely different person next year than you are today. Mm-hmm. And you never want to compare yourself to other people. You always want to compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And you want to be a better you tomorrow. So when you look at these 10 things, you're talking about sharing your vision. I mean, all you have to do is tell yourself to do that. And you can share it with your kids, or you cannot. But your goals in life and what you want to do and who you want to be when you get old, you tell your kids that over and over again until it becomes real. And you can do the same thing negatively with your life. I was just having a meeting with my kid last week because she was getting bullied at school. And I was like, look, you are a beautiful, smart, kind, loving kid that's a little short, but it doesn't matter, And so she's getting kids picking on her school, which we won't get into that on the podcast, but I just, your kids, you want to be able to tell them who they want to become, right? And then let them tell themselves that. And then same thing with you. If you want to become a great leader, then you tell yourself you're a great leader. And then you look at all these things that you need to be doing, and you do them. Mm-hmm. And, you pick one out, you work on it until it becomes habit. You can pick all these 10 things we just talked about. You could pick them out, and you could come up with a tangible way to implement that, right? Let's just do this.
I mean, I feel like we've answered the question that I asked earlier.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, we've answered the question.
We got to it. I think so. It can be done.
It can be done.
Yeah. But remain positive. Dude, remind yourself every day, be positive.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
That's right.
100.
That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a choice. I like it. Maddie?
I like empower your teams. One thing that we do, I like to ask, and we do, all the leaders at work do this. We ask people, the employees, what do you think on a lot? I think I shared that with you guys, maybe on the podcast, maybe not. And it's crazy how empowered they feel when you ask them what their opinion is on something so small, and it's like, we don't have to make every decision. Let's go to the people who are grinding out there every day where we're not, So I like that one. And then I like focus on solutions, not the problem.
Yeah.
Because I think I struggle with that.
Well, yeah. Well, we all do. And do you have an example?
Do I have an example?
Of something where you struggle with that. Just for fun.
Let me think about it.
Okay. Well, let me do the takeaway real quick. So just in case you just tuning in or you didn't hear the whole thing, you need to go back and listen to it. But listen, passionate leaders embrace innovation and make disruptive improvements within the organization. Right? Period. That's what they do. And so, go kick the can of beans over. Go kick it over. It's work. Like, seriously. I mean, obviously be prepared to clean it up, but go kick it over. Change it up. That's what's going to set you apart as a leader. Is when you you have the courage to come in and kick the can over, make a mess and clean it up. And that's what you need to be doing as a passionate leader. When you want to set a different course, then start kicking the can over and then cleaning it up. The power of positivity and the importance of empowering others. That is the passionate leader. And so, we got to be passionate. If not, you're not leading like you should be, right?
Yeah.
So
I just think without that enthusiasm, then that's when your influence will fade.
Wanes.
And
100.
And I just keep going back to the engaging thing, and I just think about that, and I just you see it every day, like people just walking in a straight line, and not only just business, just life. Like people just don't engage and don't communicate and don't like.
I think about the grocery store when you talk about that.
Why? Yeah, the
you're walking by, nobody, they're just like robots.
Like it's okay. What's up?
That's me. I definitely don't talk to people in the grocery store.
Daniel, not everybody's an extrovert.
Head down.
That's funny. Yeah, sometimes you don't feel like engaging. And that's okay, but it is good to engage others.
Also, the recharging to avoid burnout.
It's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That hit me close to home.
Burnout, yeah. Yeah, you got to recharge.
Yeah.
You got to get around the people that will love on you, and you got to get out of the weeds. Look, so here you go, Daniel. Take things that are not adding value to you or to your family or to your circle. Maybe pull it out, man. Put something else in, I mean, I know I've had to do that myself.
Yeah.
And one of the things that charges me, and we talked about this, I'm a passionate guy, is purpose. Mm-hmm. So if this sounds super funny, but I have to share it because there's somebody else out there dealing with this. If I spend my time on me, if I go and get in a boat and go fishing every day, now I'm just telling you how it is. If I do that every day for a week, you will not want to be around me because it doesn't fill me up. I have to serve people. And so y'all know I started with the fire department in the Buckhead, the volunteer fire department a while back because I wanted to force myself to serve. And so in serving, that's what makes me tick. It's a sense of purpose. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And without that sense of purpose, if I don't have that sense of purpose and that accountability, I struggle. And so anytime, like I'm the guy that you go to the beach, I go to the beach for a family vacay and I'm miserable. I'm serious. Yeah. Like people don't want to be around me. Yeah. Cause I'm working, I'm on the phone. They're like, dude, cut it off for a minute. And I'm like, dude, I can't. Like I lose my sense of purpose. You don't want to be around me. Yeah. I'm not very fun to be around. But as long as I'm purposefully finding purpose, then
finding purpose.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Purposefully passionate.
Yeah, that's good. So anyway,
write that down.
Got it.
We can do a post for that, a quote. Anyway, is that enough? How many minutes we get? Oh yeah, we covered that one.
Yeah,
we covered that one good. Any more comments, takeaways? Departing words?
This was really good for me.
Great job, guys.
Mm-hmm. Great job.
I love you guys.
Good job, Jeremy.
Signing off.
Signing off.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.